Hey everyone, and welcome to this month's Get Money Now section. As you probably noticed, we've got a lot packed into the Get Money Now section, and that's because there's a lot of stuff that goes into getting money now. And what I want to walk you through was what I talked about in this month's newsletter, which is this loss leader funnel. As I mentioned in the newsletter, a customer that comes into this funnel is worth so much more than a standard opt-in. And I showed you in the newsletter how I'm getting almost 15 times better response out of a small group of these customers than I am regular opt-ins, which is awesome. So let me show you how to do it. Here's the big picture of the funnel. I've also included the printouts of all of this as well for you this month. So where we begin is we drive ourselves some traffic. So I'm using two ads that get people to go to my sales letter for this, and I'm also sending my list a click sequence. Well, I should say I have sent my list a click sequence. I don't send it to them every day, of course. Once you go through the click sequence, it's unlikely I'll send it to you again, unless, of course, he didn't respond. So both of these traffic sources are sending people to the sales letter. And I've included the sales letter for you in this month's package, along with the framework for the sales letter and a very detailed tutorial on how to utilize this framework to create a sales letter like this of your own. One thing you'll notice is this sales letter is a real live, honest-to-God sales letter. Even though I'm selling the book for $5.60, and I originally gave it away for $5.60 shipping, I've still put a tremendous amount of effort into getting that sale. And it was worth the effort because this sales letter converts at about 10% to cold traffic, which is wonderful. So now we have really only one thing for them to do, and that is to buy the book from that sales letter. Now, if they're on my list and they click it and they don't buy, I will know that and I'll put them in another campaign later. But let's talk about the ones that do buy. Let's just assume we're driving cold traffic from one of these awesome looking ads. I'll show you the video ad here in a minute as well. So if they buy, they're going to see two one-click upsell videos. And on those videos, it's a very standard issue. I'll show you the pages here in a minute. It's a very standard issue, and they can either select yes or no. One thing I do is I have them confirm. If they click yes, I make them click yes again, just to make sure that I don't get accidental yeses there. I don't want anyone declaring shenanigans. And regardless of what they do, after they go through those one-click upsell videos, is they land on a webinar registration page. And that webinar is presented as a bonus, and I'll show you some of that page here in a minute. So the question becomes, do they register for the webinar or not? If they don't buy either one of the upsells, I don't make any effort to follow up with them and get them to buy those upsells later. Instead, I focus on getting people to register for this webinar. So let's assume that they don't register for the webinar. If they don't register for the webinar, my automation will know and it will deploy an invite sequence. And I'll show you the emails, of course, for all of these sequences during this walkthrough. But that's a pretty extensive sequence. There's actually like 8 emails. We'll go through them here in a little bit, but it's a lot more than is represented in this little diagram. I just didn't want to have a giant email sequence for this big picture. So we're basically, every one of those emails is driving them to the registration page, and they can, of course, register or not. If they don't register, we do something a little different with them. If they do register, of course, they're going to be now in an automated webinar system. And basically what happens there is we've got about a day before the webinar happens. It's always 24 hours out. And, well, it's one day out. It's every day at 10, and I don't allow same-day registration. So if you see the page today, it's always going to tell you it's tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific time. So right before 10, I send them an email reminder sequence, and they can get on the webinar or not. If they purchase on the webinar, then I don't do anything else with them. I just give them their stuff. And if they don't purchase, they're in the next campaign. Also, if they register at the webinar registration page right after the one-click upsells, they don't get the invite sequence, and they just go straight into the webinar reminder sequence. And of course, if they never register for the webinar, I'm going to put them in another campaign. So it's a pretty simple sales funnel. Actually, it consists of one sales letter, two one-click upsells, a webinar registration page, and then, of course, the webinar itself. And then we can get fancy if we want to and have a big webinar invite sequence for the people who don't immediately register after the upsells. Incidentally, that is most people. I probably get around 25% register immediately, and the other 75%, I need to follow up with them on an invite sequence. And in general, I get a little more than 50% of all buyers end up registering for the webinar. So it works pretty good, right? So that's your big picture. So let's go through the assets of this campaign now. I'll start with the email sequence. So let's assume you've got a list and you want to deploy this to your existing list. It's pretty simple. You'll notice that even though I have a lot of emails in this sequence, they're kind of the same email. So here's our first email, and the subject line is first name. I've got something cool to mail you. And I go and I say, it's a brand new book I just finished that walks you through how to sell high-ticket consulting and coaching services, and you can get it here. Then I have a picture of the book, and then I say no charge for it. Just give me your mailing address and cover shipping. Grab it here. I haven't ordered many because the page is down, or rather so, if the page is down, it's because I ran out already. Get it here. Talk soon, Frank. Then I go into the PS. It's actually about way more than just consulting. Read the letter and you'll see. Okay, so what I want to share with you really more than the actual copy is the way I'm repurposing the copy. So have a look at email number 2. I'm going to wait 2 hours here. This is in day 1 of the click sequence. I wait 2 hours, and then I'm going to send a second email. And the second email is almost identical to the first email. The difference is the subject line is good news, and then the first sentence is I've got something cool to mail you. And this is important. So when we're sending people email, the thing that they really see that's going to make them decide whether or not they open is going to be your subject, and it's going to be your first line. So in this case, if they didn't open, there's no need for me to write an entirely new email here. I'm just going to change the first sentence and the subject line to try to get them again. So now I'm going to wait 2 more hours, and then I'm going to send them email number 3. And notice I'm using the same tactic here. So what I'm doing is I am now saying, I need your address, please. And I have the first sentence is different. I've got a little present for you. And then boom, it is exactly the same email. So when you look at a campaign like this and you hear me say, oh, we're going to have this click sequence, it's going to have 10 emails in it, you might think, oh my gosh, dude, I don't want to have to write 10 different emails. Well, I don't either. And if you think you have to write 10 different emails, you probably believe that they're actually opening and reading every single email that we write them. And they simply don't, right? That's normal. It's the internet. By the time they get your email and consider reading it, they've probably gotten 5 more just in that little millisecond, right? So that's okay. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to wait a day, and my little animations are messed up here. Whoops, here we go. Hang on. I'm going to wait 1 day, and then I'm going to email them email number 4. And email number 4 is a subject line that says never again. And now I've barely changed the copy a little bit. All right, so it's a slightly different email. I say, hey, name, if you don't have a big name and a huge list, it will never be an issue again. See, I'm tying that to the subject line. I've created a new book for you that shows you how to sell high-ticket stuff, even if nobody's ever heard of you. You can get it here. There's a picture of the book. The book is clickable. No charge for it. Just give me your mailing address and cover shipping. And then I've changed my PS ever so slightly, but notice the framework of the email is the same. I say, so far, the strategies in this book have worked well to sell everything from tech services to coaching, consulting, legal, real estate, corporate training, and the list goes on. Read the letter here, and you'll see how. You're also getting a brand new training where I walk you through 4 different client-getting campaigns that worked like crazy. Anyway, like I said, the book is free. Just tell me where to mail it and help me out with shipping. Okay, this is for back when I was selling it physically shipped. I've switched to downloadable, by the way, really just as an experiment to see if it matters. And I don't quite have enough data to determine whether or not it matters. So in this case right here, this is all in the same day. I'm waiting 4 hours now, and now I'm sending this next email. There we go. Needed to fix that slide there. It was bothering me. Okay, so we wait 4 hours. So now this is day 2. So we're waiting 4 hours. So this one goes out around 7 in the morning. This one's going to go out around 11 in the morning Pacific. And notice I'm using the same strategy. I'm saying, all right, I changed my subject line, what to do if nobody knows you. And then this email is identical. I've just removed this first line. So if they're looking in their email client, they're going to see the subject line, and then I've created a new book for you that shows you how to, right? So Again, I don't need to completely rewrite every email. I just tweak them a little bit because when it comes to getting the attention, this little area right here, an email, this is going to be the part that really matters. So now what I'm going to do in this sequence is I wait 2 days. So I'm going to give them a breather because, hey, you know what? They might not have checked the email or whatever. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time. If they still haven't registered, I'm now going to send them the next email, right? So this is our next day. We've waited 2 days. So now this is going to go out around 7:30 in the morning. The subject line is first name. I have something cool to mail you, right? And we have the same copy that we used in email number 1. Now, why would I do that? Well, man, it's been 4 days, right? We said day 1, we waited a day, day 2, now we've waited 2 days. So now this is like 4 days later. They're not going to remember what I sent them the first time if they didn't open it. So there's no need for me to reinvent the wheel here. So now I'm going to wait 1 day and I'm going to send them this. And here's another one. So in this case, I'm using the same email that I used earlier in the sequence. Why? Because it's been almost a week now. It's not like they remember. I don't need to do all of this work over and over again. So now I'm going to wait 3 days. I'm going to give them a chance to check email. I don't want to be a pest or anything. And then I'm going to start sending more messages. So again, I'm going to do the same email. I need your address, please. Right? I'm going to wait 2 days, and then I'm going to say, what's your mailing address? Notice I've got the exact same email now. Why? Because I'm like 9 days or something, maybe 10 days into the sequence. I noticed they haven't really noticed it yet, so it's fine. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. So now I'm going to wait 3 days, and then I'm going to switch it up a little bit. And now we're going to get kind of crazy. So notice email number 10. Name, photos, do not bend. Guess which email got the most clicks and the most opens out of this entire sequence? You guessed it. It was this one. Let's take a look at this puppy. First of all, subject line, very compelling. Second of all, tons of curiosity. Want to know what's in the envelope with your name on it? Third of all, notice I got their name on the freaking envelope. So I've developed this little piece of software. It's called ctrocket.com. It probably isn't ready yet by the time you get this video. I'll email you as soon as it is for when we're ready to take beta testers. But basically what this allows you to do is take an image and overlay your contact's name anywhere on top of the image. So in this case, this would say mail to Bob or mail to Frank or mail to Rick James or whatever. So they're opening the email. It says photos do not bend. There's a picture of me holding a dang envelope. This is the actual envelope that the book came in, and then it has mail to their name on there. How could you not click that, right? It's crazy. So then if they didn't register, or rather if they didn't go ahead and click the link here, because this is to go get the book, then I'd wait a day and I'd send it again. And this one, these 2 emails crushed all of the other emails in the entire sequence. So this one is the exact same email. It says, what's in this envelope with your name on it? And so, of course, we have that curiosity factor. So, with that said, if I relaunch this campaign, which I'll probably do in a couple months or so, I'll give it a breather. And for all the people who never clicked, what emails do you think I'll start the campaign with? Yeah, you guessed it, the ones with my picture in there. And then if they don't click this one, I'll come up with other ways to use images with their name on it because it worked so freaking well. So these are the emails that I sent my list to get them to go click on the link to buy the book. All right, so if they never clicked, then of course I sent them other things. If they clicked and didn't buy, I didn't bother them. I was just waiting to see if they clicked. So if they clicked, then I didn't email them anymore. I assumed they saw it and they didn't want the book, and that's fine. I didn't want to be a pest. So in my campaign, the goal here was just to get them to click. Remember my overview? It was a click sequence. That's what the goal of the click sequence is. Okay, so our next phase here is now the ads. All right, so in the ads, I have 2 different types of ads I'm still running. I have a regular Facebook ad, and then I have a Facebook video ad. And this is, of course, the worst still shot that I could come up with in my video ad. It looks like I don't know, drank like 5 beers and took a bong hit or something. It looks like I'm going, hey, you guys want one of these books or whatever. So this isn't really doing the video justice. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to bring the video ad up for you so you can watch it now. So hang on, I'll go ahead and splice that in for us. My name is Frank Kern, and I have been kicked out of a strip club in the daytime on a Monday while I was working.
But it's not what you think. I was on a sales call, and my boss had sent me to this strip club owned by a gigantic former amateur pro wrestler, and I was to cold call this fella and sell him a credit card machine. And he promptly threw me out with just the slightest bit of threatening body language. And at that moment I said, never again. I never want to have to chase customers or clients. And if you're anything like me, you want to have clients and customers coming to you. Well, here's the deal. So we can't have clients or customers unless we have prospects. And here's the deal. There are really only 3 types of prospects in the world. There's low-hanging fruit, there is mid-level, and there's a type of prospect called a cold prospect. Low-hanging fruit prospect is someone who already knows you and they're already familiar with, and they want the solution that you can help them with. Those, of course, are the holy grail. That's what we're all after. The next level of prospect is called a mid-level prospect. This is someone who might not know you, but they're actively searching for the solution that you can provide for them. And finally, the third type is a cold prospect. And really, this is where the most prospects live and the most customers live. This is a type of prospect who doesn't know you, might not necessarily be looking for the solution that you can provide, but they're a perfect candidate for it. So whether we're dealing with a low-hanging fruit style prospect or a mid-level prospect or a completely cold prospect, at the end of the day, in order to make a sale for a coach or a consultant or a professional service provider, we're going to have a conversation with that person. It can be on the phone, on Skype, GoToMeeting, in person. It doesn't matter. But we're going to have to talk to that person in order to demonstrate we can help them by actually helping them and then closing them into becoming one of our clients. And that gives us 3 big challenges. Number 1, how do we get people to have that type of conversation with us without actually having to chase them? How do we get them to come to us? How do we have our dignity intact and not be reduced to a door-to-door cheeseball salesman? The second thing is, how do we do it without being salesy? Listen, nobody likes to be sold, but everybody likes to buy. So how do we actually close that prospect in becoming a customer without being aggressive and pushy and obnoxious? And finally, how do we have those conversations with the right people? How do we make sure that we're not wasting our time? How do we make sure that we're only talking to prospects who are most likely and qualified to become our customers? The solution lies in one simple thing called the IIO framework. That stands for Irresistible Intrigue Offer. This is a framework that will cause prospects to literally come to you, ask you about doing business with you, fully aware of exactly what you do and how much you charge. So you never have to chase them, you never have to use pushy sales tactics, and you never have to waste your time talking to people who aren't truly interested and can't afford your service. And I'd like you to have that right now. It's all in my new book called How to Get Consulting Clients Fast, even if nobody's ever heard of you. And you can get it right now by clicking the link on this video. Click the link on this video, grab your copy of the book, and put this framework to use and see for yourself how well it helps you get more customers and clients without chasing them, without having to use high-pressure sales tactics, and without wasting your time. Click the link on this page right now and get your copy.
Wasn't that lovely? You know what's funny is it was so hot in the studios. If you rewind and watch that video again, you'll see I'm just sweating my brains out in there. It was terrible, but you know, good enough is better than taking forever and trying to get it perfect and never getting it done. So that video has really, really worked. These ads are really working very well for me. So they're all driving people to a page that looks like this. Now, within this month's package, I printed out this page for you, and like I mentioned, I've given you an entirely separate training on video, as well as some worksheets and frameworks on how I crank out these types of loss leader letters. So I want you to refer to that video for the training on how to actually write a page like this. You'll see it's really pretty simple and very formulaic. So the big picture so far is, people see an ad or they get a quick sequence email. They go to a version of the sales letter. I've got an older picture of the sales letter there. That's from when I first started it. And then they have their one-click upsells. And basically, this is the first one, and this is a video. And if they click yes, then they have to confirm to buy. And if they click no, then they're in another video in the sales and video black box. And it's the same thing. The little red button and the green button appear here down below. And then they click to confirm whether or not they want it for sure. It's not necessary, as far as I know, to actually have this extra step here. It's just, I'd rather them really make sure they know what they're getting in a one-click upsell environment, so they don't come back later and fuss. Right? So that's how that works. Now, the next step, regardless of whether they buy either of these. Now, remember, I'm not following up with them if they don't buy. I'm not emailing them a million times to try to get them to buy these. These truly are one-time offers. What I really care about the most is this step. So regardless of whether or not they take the one-click upsell, they're landing on a webinar registration page. And this is just an optimized press template for a webinar registration page. It's very simple. I wrote it in like 10 minutes. It's moderately good copy. It's fair, I would say. And about 25% of the people who buy the book end up on this page and they actually register. For the other remainders, I put them in an invite sequence, and let me walk you through what that invite sequence looks like. So I wait about 30 minutes after they buy the book, and if they haven't registered for the webinar, they immediately get this email. And as you can see, it's very, very simple. It says, name, important about your book request. First of all, thanks for requesting my book. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you can get it here. This is the copy I use currently because I'm testing a downloadable version for $5.60. So far, so good. Then I say, important. It looks like you didn't claim your advanced training on how to attract and close dream clients. You can get that here. There's no charge. And then I sign off, right? So really the goal of this is two parts. Number one, to make sure they get the book. Number two, to drive them back to that very same registration page I showed you. If they still don't register, after an hour, it's going to send them this one. And it says, name, an extra gift for you. That's how I'm positioning this webinar. Webinar's really good, by the way. It says, important. Looks like you didn't claim your advanced training on how to attract and close dream clients. You can get that here. There's no charge. P.S. This advanced training is important because it walks you through discoveries I made after I wrote the book. I want you to have every advantage possible, so please get this here. PPS, if you haven't downloaded the book yet, it's here. I'm literally just including that PPS just to make sure if anyone still hasn't downloaded their book. Some people buy something and they don't notice the 3 emails I send them with download instructions, and they don't notice the download instructions, so they're like, where the hell is my book? So I'm just really trying to mitigate against that, and it's working very well. So if they still haven't registered, I'm waiting a day, and then I'll send them this email. So this is the 3rd email in the webinar invite sequence exclusively for book buyers. And now I'm using a different email. So this says, name, a 300% increase in the revenue. And so here we have it. Hi, name, advanced training on how to get dream clients. I've created an advanced class for you, and I want you to have it as my gift. You can get it here. It's specifically for people like you who got my book. Now, notice I'm tying this back again to the book purchase. Why? Because it's been 24 hours since they got the book. Unlike what we really wish were true, our customers and prospects don't just sit around and think about us and remember our every communication, which is very selfish of them. I agree. But we really have to constantly remind them of what's going on and why we're writing them. So I'm referencing the fact that they bought the book. The thing is, and now I'm back in the copy, the thing is I discovered some really effective strategies after I wrote the book, and I want you to have them. Like I said, this is a gift, and you can get it here. Here's what's in the training. And now what I've done is I've taken the bullet points from the registration page, and I've just used them in the email. Very, very simple. Right? And then I say, and much, much more, this is an excellent training, and I'm revealing the exact formulaic steps I'm using to make sales every day while really helping people in the process. There's no charge for you. This is exclusively for people who got my book, and you can get it here. All right? So this is now day number 2. All right? And so after this email goes out, this will go out around 7 in the morning. I'm going to wait 3 hours. If they still haven't registered, I'm sending them a 4th email. Email number 4, warning. Hi, name, I've created an advanced class for you, and I want you to have it as my gift, but it's not going to be available much longer. You can get it here. It's specifically for people like you who got my book. The thing is, I discovered some really effective strategies after I wrote the book, and I want you to have them. Like I said, this is a gift, and you can get it here. And then, boom, I'm right in the exact same copy I just used in the last email with the bullet points, right? So I'm really not reinventing the wheel very much, just like I showed you. So in all my email sequences, you'll notice I'm reusing a lot of the copy because I know they're not reading every single freaking email. If they haven't responded to the email, it's probably because they didn't read it, not because they're not interested, but they're on the internet and they got 9 million other things going on. They're probably at the stoplight checking their phone or something. You know how it is. I mean, you and I don't do that, right? We would never use our phones and check email while driving. That's terrible. But other people do. So if they still haven't registered, which many of them won't, that's totally fine. That's why we automate everything. I'm going to wait one day. I'm going to send them this one, important for buyers only. Now notice, look at these two pieces of copy side by side. They're identical. What I'm doing is I've just changed the first sentence just a little bit, right? Instead of I create an advanced class for you, I create an advanced class for you that's exclusively for folks who got my book, no charge. And then look, whoop, exact same copy. If they still haven't registered, I'm going to wait another day. I'm going to send them another email. Here it is. Now I'm trying a different angle. Problem with your book order. All right, so that's a very captivating subject line. So now I want to say, okay, your book order was processed just fine, but it looks like you haven't received the bonus trading. You could get it here. And then look, what are we doing? It's the exact same email copy. I'm just changing the subject line and the first sentence. Okay, now if they still haven't registered, I waited a day. And I'm now sending a different email. So notice how different this is. Now, look at our subject line. We have name and city. Now, where am I getting their city from? Well, remember, these are folks who bought the book. So they filled out an order form, which stored that city information in their contact record in Infusionsoft, which allows me to use it in, say it with me, my email marketing. So if I was a customer, this would say, Frank in La Jolla. Now, if I'm a customer, I'm going to be like, what? What is this? What is this guy talking about, right? So now I say, hi, Frank. I don't think this ticket will make it to you in time, so I'm emailing him. You can claim it here. And now I have an image of a ticket that has their name on it. So this merges, I'm using that CT Rocket software we're developing. This merges their contact info right here on top of the image. It's part of your bonus. It comes with the consulting book. Enjoy, Frank. Now, if they still haven't purchased it, or rather, if they still haven't registered, I wait a day. I send it again. I'm exact same email, by the way, it just has RE in front of it. And I'm waiting another day and doing it again. It's the exact same email. It just has for name in city in parentheses, your bonus. Now, which of all of these 9 emails over this, very long invitation sequence, which ones do you think got the highest click-through? Of course, it's this one with the images. I discovered the image thing and really started testing it later in the campaign. So originally, these emails were not part of the invitation sequence. I added them on after I started messing around with this image stuff. I just said, okay, I'm going to add 3 more on here and see what happens. And of course, I got more registrants. But I went and I looked at the stats, and what do you know? If these guys didn't get more clicks and more opens, which is showing us that this type of stuff makes a lot of sense. So therefore, if I were to redo this thing, which I really should now that I'm making the video, what emails should go first? Well, you said it. These guys should go first while they're hot, right? Imagine the compounded effect of that, of taking my best emails, which worked, even though it was like 10 days later or whatever, and putting them right at the beginning of the sequence. Obviously, I would get more response. So I shall. So that is your big picture overview of this campaign. Now, within this Make Money Now training I'm giving you, as well as what I've just given you here, you've got the slides to this video as well that's got these email swipe files in it. And I've also given you a separate video training that has the framework on how to write the sales letter that gets people to take you up on that low ticket offer, which of course is critical because that's where it all begins, is getting those buyers. And as you know, from the main newsletter this month, these buyers, these people who bought this book, whether it was downloadable or physical, they respond at a rate that is 15 times greater than a regular opt-in. So they're worth really messing with. This is worth doing, right? And even if you don't do the one-click upsells, at the very least, have a free book offer or whatever, DVD, flash drive, you name it, that then takes all the buyers and offers them a bonus webinar that sells something more expensive. It's working very, very well for me. It's tremendously effective. And as you can see now, it's really not that much to it. It's not that hard. Okay, let's resume this in our next training video on how to write that copy for your sales page. I'll see you there.